Hello again, everyone. We are back in the workshop, back on this Yamaha 12 string in what I'm hoping is going to be the final chapter of this. I'm a little bit concerned about a couple of spots here. One of them, let me find something I can point with here. One being here, and you can see some bright, I don't hesitate to use the word white, but you can see that. I'm hoping as I sand and polish, I've got the whole thing at this point sanded to about or up to the point where I need to just use the 2000 and 3000 and then start in with the polish. And I'm hoping as I get into the polishing phase of this that what I'm hoping is I don't have to tint some lacquer and put a coat of lacquer pretty much over the whole thing. That would be a little frustrating at this point, but again, I'll do what I need to do. What I'm hoping is that discoloration goes away as I get into the polishing part. So here's what I've got is I've got an eraser, and I'm using the wide end, and I'm wrapping around. I've got some 2000 grit sandpaper. I've got 3000 in my bowl that's soaking. So I'm just gonna jump in on this and we'll just see how things go and where we end up. And if I don't like it, I'll just keep working on it until I get to a point where I do like it. I like it when it's wet, and that's why I'm hoping as it polishes, as we apply the higher grit sandpaper and then the polish, that I'm hoping that I'll continue to like it. It looks pretty nice actually. So what I'm hoping is that the sanding doesn't go down all the way back to where I dyed it and then lacquered it. That's what I'm hoping. All right, I'm gonna switch, I think, to the 3000 sandpaper and run that for a while. And if you could feel this, it's just super smooth. I'm hoping that once I do a cleaning and then start with the polishing, that it's going to look as good as I hope it's going to look. Again, I'm sanding in the same direction as the grain of the wood, so I definitely don't want to go cross grain because you'll see the scratches. So that's actually looking pretty good there. I might go ahead and just try some polish on top of that and see how it looks, and go from there. So let me grab, actually I'm going to start with I've just got rubbing compound like you would use on a car. It's just it's made by Turtle Wax. It's just rubbing compound, and I'm going to get a cloth, and I'm just using an old towel that I've torn into pieces, and I'm going to just get it a little bit damp. I don't want it soaking wet, just a little dampness to get things moving. And then I'm going to start in, and again I'm just going to do this by hand because there's really not much area, so there's no need to like pull out something with a power drill and all that kind of stuff. It's just not necessary at all. So what I'm hoping is to start seeing a little bit as I do this, and I'll have to go and clean out the holes. But what I'm hoping is, as I do this, and then I'll clean it off, of course, but I'm hoping that, and I'm going in circular motions where I can, but I'm hoping when I clean this off to see a little bit of the shine coming back, and hopefully without those discolored spots. But again, if I have to deal with that, I think you can see that there on your video. Just make sure, yep, you can see that spot pretty well. So what I'm going to do is just hit it with the rubbing compound, and what I'm hoping is it's just residue from the sandpaper where it was kind of getting dirty with the lacquer, and that once I've done the polishing, that hopefully you won't be able to see it. Again, circular motions where I can, but along this edge over here I can't really do that, so I'm just doing what I can here. What I may end up having to do is just put a coat of lacquer, kind of tint an ambered color lacquer, and put over the entire headstock and then polish that. So we'll see as I get this cleaned off here. We'll see kind of how we did, I guess. This is just the compound, it's not the actual polish, so we'll hopefully start bringing things back. I've got bits and pieces that are starting to shine. Let's see how that's looking in your, yeah. So I am seeing some discoloration that I think is going to cause us a problem, like right here and right in here. But those were the worst spots, really, and they just may need some more work. So I think I'm gonna go with, grab the polish, and what I use for polish most of the time is this. It's a made by Happich semi-chrome polish. You can just get it off of Amazon, and it works really, really well for a multitude of things on a guitar. You got a bunch of pick scratches on a pick guard and it'll take them out. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here and try to get this thing shining up, and then see what all we need to work on to make it look like something. Yeah, I think it's gonna need a little bit more work. But we'll just hit it with the polish here, and we'll see what happens. The other thing is with time, how much time do I actually want to spend on this, considering it's not a high dollar collectible type guitar, and but I want it to look nice, I don't know if you can see that from your vantage point, but I've got, see if I can get you in there, zoom you a little bit. I've got a couple of spots that are pretty noticeable that I may just have to hit with a little bit of dye. I may actually have to dye some lacquer, and that's what it's more and more looking like, is I may have to just try to put a very thin coat of some dyed lacquer on here because it's really fighting me here to even look like something. Yeah, I think I'm gonna, well, we can just test it here, see if we can live with it or not. See if I got you in the camera there. Zoom back out. And then what I'm gonna do is pick up the guitar here and turn it so that it doesn't have the bright shop light on it, and see if we can see that. And I'm actually looking at it here too, and it's got a little bit of discoloration there. I'm kind of happy with as far as the polishing part of it and all of that. I just don't like that. You can see the light spot, and if you know what I'm talking about right there. So all right, let's back up and we'll try this again. Try something else. Let me see. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels on this one, but we did a lot of damage. So, or I did a lot of damage taking out the those bushings. And again, if anybody has a suggestion for a better way to do that wouldn't cause damage, if I ever need to do that again, please leave it in the comments below. I would love to hear what you might have done if it were yours. Again, if I could get something that was even and had a good shine to it without all that discoloration, I might be happy with it, but it doesn't look like that's gonna be a thing that happens for me right now. So, all right, let me pause you. I know we haven't been on here for very long, but let me pause you. I'm gonna figure out what it is that I'm gonna do, and then I'll come back and touch base with you and let you know. All right, YouTubers, I am back and I've made a decision, and I'm gonna cut my losses at this point and just end up with it. I'm gonna go with it as it is right now. So let me bring you, I've got you handheld, and this is just a quick update. I'll bring you back in. I promise this will be the last part number 3, but I have to let this part dry for right now. Let me tell you again what I've done. I showed you those light spots earlier in the video. I went back and I re-stained those, and again, the shop light is there, so it's really shiny. But I went back and I re-stained those, and then I put a coat of lacquer over the entire headstock, and I think at this point I'm just going to let that dry and see how it looks when it's dry, and then I think it's going to look good enough that I'm going to go with it again. I've got this big shop light. If I were to like turn it toward you where it was just in normal lighting situation here, it actually, for all the damage that it had, it looks pretty good. Again, I said it wasn't going to be perfect, but it looks pretty good. There's a couple of dark spots that it just, again, matching finish just sucks, and I think I'm just going to have to go with it the way that it is right now. I'm going to put all the hardware on it, at least the ferrules. I'll put those on once everything dries. I'll lay these in there and see how it looks. And I mean, I can always sand it off and do it again, but I think at this point I'm going to just go with it the way that it is and see how the lacquer settles down, and probably just go with it the way that it is. It's kind of unfortunate that it did the damage that it did, but I really don't know what else to try without scraping and wood filling and staining and redoing the entire headstock. You know, there's not a whole lot I can do, and I'm not going to invest that kind of time and effort and energy on this guitar. Anyway, just a quick 2-3 minute update there on what I decided to do and the direction I decided to go. I'll bring you back in once this is all dried. I've made a little more progress. I'll bring you back in. This is going to take several hours to set up and cure and all that before I can mess with it. So I'll be back with you. Good morning to everyone. We are early morning and back in the workshop. I got to try to finish up this Yamaha 12 string so I can take it with me. I've got band practice later today, and then we have a gig coming up, so I need to get this thing back together. So what I've done is, if you've watched the first couple of videos, you've seen the damage, and I've got you handheld here, so I apologize if I bump you around too much, but I'm trying to get you so you're not under the super bright shop lights and all of that, and I think you'll agree that looks pretty good. It definitely is not perfect in any way, shape, or form. I would need to do a lot more work to get it to that point, and I might do that at some point when I have some time, but I'm kind of out of time. So what I've done here is, you can see I've put the new tuners, the Grover mini tuners, I went ahead and just pushed those through the headstock. Let me kind of zoom in here, and I put the washer and the bushing, ferrule, whatever you want to call it, and screwed that in place, and it's all just hand tight. But I just wanted to show you what it looked like under normal lighting, and you know, kind of, it's not even really from a distance, but under normal lighting and all of that, and it does look pretty good. It's not perfect. There are spots that I would like to fix and all that, but it's going to take a lot more time than I have right now to do it. So we're just going to get the thing back together. I've got some things set up and ready to go. I'm going to put you back on the tripod, and I'm going to flip the guitar over, get the tuners lined up as well as I can, and drill some holes, put some screws in, and then get the strings back on it. But I thought I would bring you along for the ride on that. So hold on a minute and I'll get you back on the tripod. Okay, I've got you back here on the tripod. I've got the guitar on the back on the bench, and I'm just going to take a minute, and I need to find a straight edge here, something that I can use to put in here. I'm just going to use a straight edge, lay it in here and by eyeball, and just line these up. Like I said, I've only got them in here hand tightened, so I can shift them around a little bit and get everything in place where I want it. And again, what I'm doing is just making sure that as we run up and down the headstock here, that we're fairly straight. I don't want to have them off too badly there. I kind of want them straight up and down, and so I've just got a straight edge here that I can make sure that's the case. So that looks pretty good on that side, and let me just do the other side. most of those were not in there. That actually looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I've got the drill all ready to go. And you can see I've got the drill bit here. I put a piece of tape on here. And what I've done is I've got a bit that's smaller than the screw. They recommend, somewhere I read they recommend a bit that's half the size of the screw for the pilot hole. I didn't have anything that small. So what I found basically something that was significantly smaller, and I put a piece of tape the length of the screw, so I don't want to, of course, take a chance on drilling through the headstock and messing that up. So I'm gonna find me a screwdriver here too at some point to put all these screws in. But I think what I'm going to do first is excuse me, is I'm going to drill these holes, and when I get ready to do that, I'm just going to bust this into time lapse and drill these holes, because I'll do the first couple maybe. Just kind of give you an idea. What you want to do is hold the drill, and you want to keep it parallel as straight as you can. I'm just going to do this by eye, but you want the screws to go in as straight as possible. So I'm just going to put the bit in here, and like so, and we'll go down until we no longer see the piece of tape. There we go. That's all there is to that. So I'm going to bust this into time lapse. I'll do the rest of these, come back or go ahead and put the screws in, and then I'll bring you back and we'll finish this up. So here we go. All right, well, that was an adventure trying to find a screwdriver. Guess that means I need to clean up the workshop. All right, I think I found one that'll work. Small little screwdriver. Again, you want to find, if you can, right tool for the job so that you don't strip stuff out. You don't want to strip the heads of your screws and all that kind of stuff. So, again, not very exciting TV watching me put screws in, so I'll probably just do this and bust this part into time lapse. But basically what the screw does between, and I'll flip you back around when I get all these done, of course, but the screw in combination with the ferrule or bushing that screws on keeps the tuner from rotating in the hole. So all right, that's the purpose of those. So you really have to put those in there. I've seen people try to get away with not doing that, and what they do is they end up tightening these ferrules, bushings, too tightly and do damage to the headstock, and ends up creating a bit of a problem. So, all right, you can kind of see that process. So there's 2 of the 12. I'm going to bust in the time lapse and do the rest. Okay, that little bit of excitement all done. I've got you back. The guitar's flipped over, as you can tell. And this next part, I really wanted to bring you in, at least for a little bit of this, because I see people all the time who are not very careful when they do this kind of stuff. And listen, you need to be as careful as you can. I know when I took these things out, it created some damage, but Again, that was kind of the risk, but we don't have to create any more. And so here we go. I'm going to tighten these bushings, ferrules, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to tighten each of them. But listen, you don't have to tighten the things like you're putting lug nuts on your tire of your car. You just want to, and I'm just using this, I've got this small wrench here that I'm using, and match it up to the size, and you'll feel when it gets snug. So get it snug. It's still pretty loose there. So you just want it snug, and then, okay, so I'm snug, and then just a little bit of a turn. All we're trying to do is keep the tuner from moving around in the hole. You don't want the tuner to spin around. Of course, that'll throw your tuning and stuff off. So it does need to be snug, but it doesn't need to be. I've seen people tighten these so much that it cracks, breaks the finish, and it'll bubble up around the washer and all of that. So again, you just kind of have to, you'll feel when it starts to get real snug, and then just a little bit of a turn, then it's enough to hold it in place. So let me do another one here. Again, that's really loose, which is kind of what I expected since I only hand tightened these things. Okay, there we're snug. So just a little bit. That's all there is to it. So let me do these. Again, I'm going to move you into time lapse and just get this done. All right, I'm back with you. I've finished tightening up those bushings. Again, the ferrules, bushings, whatever you want to call them there. Finished tightening those up. And the last thing I'm going to do before I put the strings back on, you can see I've repositioned the camera and brought you down here. I've picked up a set. Actually, I had to buy 2 sets because this is a 12 string, but I picked up some ebony bridge pins, and I'm going to pull out these plastic pins and put in the ebony pins, and should just be a direct swap. Shouldn't have to do anything there. So let me talk a little bit about this, because I've seen people do all kinds of weird things to get bridge pins out of here. I see people take a pair of needle nose pliers and grab these things, and all kinds of things. That's just gonna, especially, and listen, I've spent lots of money on bridge pins myself, and you definitely don't want to tear them up. This right here, I think this cost maybe $1, $2, $3, something like that. It's really inexpensive. It's just a bridge pin puller, and I'll show you how it works. You just slide it up under the bridge pin, and, well, maybe I'll show you how it works. There we go. Slides up under the bridge pin like that, pulls them out. And again, these plastic ones, I'm not going to throw these away. I may run across somebody who wants me to work on their guitar, and I need a bridge pin, so I'll hang on to these. But I'm going to do these one at a time, and I'm just going to swap them out. Again, that being a 12 string, I had to buy 2 sets of because they come in sets of 6, so I had to buy 2 sets of the bridge pins. But so it ended up costing me, maybe this upgrade, I told you the tuners were around $75 or $80. The bridge pins cost me around, for both sets, were around $20. So not too bad for an upgrade, and it'll definitely help as far as, in my opinion anyway, getting rid of the plastic will definitely help with the overall sound. And I've been wanting to do this for a while anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and swap these out. I'm going to do them one at a time, just so I don't have the strings bouncing around all over the place. But that's just going to be a direct swap. As you can see, pull the old one out, put the new one in. Let me bust in the time lapse, and I'll get them all done. Okay, there's that little project out of the way. Let me just give you a look here up and down the guitar. Again, it actually turned out pretty good considering the damage that was done to the headstock. It actually looks pretty good. So I'm not overall I'm not disappointed. Wow, stuff falling and everything in the workshop. Need to hire somebody to come in and clean the place up, I think. All right, so I'm going to get the thing back together and get it tuned up and all of that stuff. I've got to get it packed up and get ready to get it out to practice today. And this is Wednesday practice, so Wednesdays, so we practice. I go to work and then practice, and then we play this weekend. So I get this thing back together. So basically all that's left is just putting the strings back on it, tune it up, and I'm just gonna leave you here, I think. Not exciting TV watching me put strings on a guitar, and other videos show that already, so I'm just gonna end this here, but thanks for following along. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit anyway one more time. There's the main, what ended up being the main project was that headstock and swapping those tuners and all of that. So I think you'll agree from where we were all finished, busted up and everything, to where it ended up doing some dyeing work and finish work, and then I put a coat of lacquer over the whole thing, and it actually looks pretty good. So anyway, thanks for following along. Thumbs up if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff, and I'll be back soon with another video.